Hi everyone, this is Megan with Left in Knots, and today I'm going to show you how to crochet a gingham print. And gingham print is just this plaid type pattern that uses tones of the same color, these two tones of pink in this example, along with white to make this plaid or gridded appearance. When you choose your yarn for gingham projects, you want to pick obviously a white yarn, and then you want a lighter tone and a darker tone of the same color. So like I said, in this sample I used pink. In my demonstration today I'll use green. You can really combine, or you can really use whatever colors you want as long as you can find something with enough contrast between the two light and dark colors. Gingham prints are really simple. They use simple stitches. My pattern uses double crochet, so I will show you how to do that. And mainly what I'm going to be showing you is how I do the color changes in the gingham print so that you get these nice clean transitions and lines. So like I mentioned earlier, my sample that I'm going to be demonstrating with today is going to be using shades of green and white. This is just a basic worsted weight acrylic. The project that I showed you before was cotton. You can do this with any yarn that you like. Just make sure you have those color options available to you before you start a project. I'm also using a 5mm crochet hook, but again, use whatever hook matches the needs of your project. I have free crochet patterns that use gingham print on my blog, www.leftinknots.com, and I will link those patterns below in the description of this video if you'd like to check them out. So to start gingham print, you can make it pretty much any size. You just want to start with an odd multiple of 3 chains plus 2. So that means 3 times 3, 3 times 5, 3 times 7, 3 times 9, 3 times 11, etc. And then plus 2. So I'm going to do 15 chain stitches, which is 3 times 5, plus 2. So I'm going to chain 17 just to start this sample swatch. That's 15, so I'm going to add 16, 17. So like you can see, this is just going to be a small little swatch that we're going to be working with today. Now in my first row, I'm going to jump right into that gingham print. So I'm going to be working in my 3rd chain from the hook, right there. And we're going to be doing double crochet stitches, so that's yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through the stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Each of these little sections of color are 3 double crochet stitches wide. So that's what we're going to stick to always. So there's my first double crochet. I am not counting my chain stitches as a stitch in this case. At the end of this pattern, I would single crochet around the entire piece to clean up the edge and make the color nice and uniform. So we'll finish our other 2 double crochet stitches. So there's number 2. And on your 3rd double crochet stitch, you'll start working like normal. But then when you get to these last remaining 2 loops on your hooks, instead of yarning over with the white, you are going to switch to your light color. So here I've got my light green. I'm going to carry this color in particular throughout my entire piece. You don't really have to cut this lighter color. You can carry this throughout the entire gingham print. The white and the darker color you will have to cut, and those will be ends that you'll have to weave in at the end. So I've got these last 2 loops on my hook from the end of my previous double crochet stitch, leaving a tail long enough to weave in, yarn over with your new color, and pull it through those last 2 loops. Now you're going to start carrying yarn, and that means you're going to work your stitches on top of the yarn so that you can use your yarn when you get to the next segment of white stitches. So I'm going to yarn over with the green, insert my hook into the next chain stitch, but I'm also going to make sure that my white working yarn is in there too. I'm going to pull through the stitch, and again, double check to make sure your working yarn is being carried. Yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two. And again, making sure that your working yarn is being carried along. You just continue with those light green stitches. But now I'm on my third double crochet stitch of the light green, so that means I'm going to switch back to my white. Since you carried the white, all you need to do is bring that up into your hand, yarn over, and pull through those two loops. Since you didn't cut it, you don't need to worry about restarting it that way. You carried it instead. Now you're going to carry your green yarn along while you do your next set of white stitches. Now this might be easier to see just because the colors are contrasted when I'm carrying. So I'm going under the chain stitch, or into the chain stitch, and then I'm also making sure that green yarn that I'm carrying is over my hook. And I'm working over both of those when I make this first double crochet stitch. The chain stitch, when you're changing colors like this, is the most challenging to work into, just because chain stitches aren't that pleasant to work into to begin with, in my opinion. But once you get beyond that first row, it becomes a little bit easier to handle the carried yarn as you're working. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up this row, carrying my yarn like I've demonstrated, all the way to the end, and I will carry this light green. My last segment of stitches is going to be white, but I will carry this light green all the way to the end of this row, and you'll see why when I come back. So this would be a good time to pause and work on your first row. Okay, so you can see I finished those last two segments of color, and I carried my green yarn through all the way to the end. And I'm at the point of finishing my third double crochet stitch in a set. So I'm actually going to yarn over with that green, pull through, and then moving on up into your next row, you're going to chain two with the green. Like I said at the beginning, this light color, whatever color you're working with, this lighter tone is going to be carried throughout the entire piece, so you have fewer ends to weave in. So this pattern, as far as colors go, is a 2-row repeat. You're going to have your white, light tone, white, light tone. Your next row is going to be, every time you're over white stitches, you're going to be using your light tone. Every time you're over your light tone, you're going to be using your dark tone. So you can see that here. See, these are my first, this is my first row of stitches, and I alternated the white and the light tone. And then your next row is light tone, dark tone, light tone, dark tone. And you just keep repeating that pattern throughout until you're done. So I've chained two with this lighter tone, green. Now I'm actually going to take my scissors And always being mindful of leaving a tail long enough to weave in, I'm going to snip the white yarn because I'm not going to be using that in this next row and I'm not going to carry it. I will say there are lots of different ways to change colors and carry your colors. I'm just showing you my preference. But if you have a different technique that works for you, by all means, you can use that. So now I'll turn, and this first set of 3 stitches, I won't have any yarn to carry with me because I'll be changing to a new color once I get to this point here. So this first set of 3 stitches is just going to be regular double crochet. But again, when you get to the end of your 3rd double crochet stitch, instead of pulling the light green through those last 2 loops, now you're going to switch, in my case, to this darker green. I'll yarn over my hook with that, leaving a tail long enough to weave in, and then pull that through. And now is where I start in this row carrying the yarn again. So now I'm going to be carrying my light green yarn as I work with the dark green. And same process of double crochet stitches in groups of 3. Switch to my light green. Carry the dark green and continue. Oops, my yarn split there. There we go. Now when you get to the end of your last dark tone, and again in my case that's dark green block here, I'm going to yarn over with my light green, pull it through. I do not need to carry this dark green color all the way to the end like I did in the previous round with the light green. Remember this round, this row, I carried the light green all the way to the end because I was going to be working with it right away again in the second row. But now this dark green I won't be using again in this next row. So I can drop the dark green here. I don't need to carry it any further. And I can just do regular double crochet stitches for those last 3 stitches. So when you're on your 3rd stitch, that's when you want to switch. Well, first, again, leaving a tail long enough to weave in, snip your green yarn, your dark green. And now with these last 2 loops, you're going to yarn over with your white yarn, pull through, and chain 2 with the white. Turn your piece, and right away now you want to start carrying this light green yarn across your stitches right away from the beginning of this row. So I've done most of my third double crochet, yarn over with my light green, and then I will continue across row number 3, carrying both of my colors like I did in row 1. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up this row, and then I will show you what it looks like after we get a few rows of these repeats with these colors. Okay, so now you can see I've finished row 3, changing colors all the way across, and now is where you can really start to see that gingham print effect. And this is going to be what's repeated throughout your entire pattern until you're done making whatever you're making. You'll notice that I did, again, carry my light green yarn all the way to the end of this row, so then I'll be able to start with it. I did snip the end here just so it wouldn't look so tangled up. But if I were to keep going, I would then be able to start with this light green and repeat the process of row 2 again. So again, this is an example of what your finished gingham print will look like in the end. It's so cute for springtime. You can use really fun bright colors and mix it up. You can use it in a lot of different projects. And again, I will link my free patterns in this video description below if you are looking for any projects to make with this fun technique. So I hope this video clarified how to cleanly change colors in plaids and gingham prints while you're crocheting. Like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of different ways to change colors and carry colors. I just demonstrated my best method that I know. And then the one thing I will mention is after you finish a project, it's always nice to finish it with a nice clean single crochet around the edge in one color, just to clean up those edges even more and make it look nice and crisp. For more free crochet patterns, you can find over 100 free patterns on my blog, www.leftandknots.com. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial, and if you'd like more, remember to subscribe to my channel. Thank you.